My prostate was cancerous and I had surgery on it. I had been cancer-free, or so I thought, but after 7 years, cancer has once again reared its ugly presence in the region. I'm having difficulty coping with this, plus type 2 diabetes. Well, it seems the destiny of many humans to be confronted with something like that at some point, or something similar. So I will just explain what I have addressed before a few times with regard to serious illness, and that is not to as much as possible avoid the mental. I'm not saying don't recognize reality like in the previous question, but what I'm saying is avoid an excessive mental dwelling on either the condition that has a name or me as the one who suffers from that condition, so that your mind does not continuously strengthen that mind form of the illness mind form, or me as my identity as a sufferer from that illness, by thinking about it, which of course creates a lot of fear and won't make you feel good. In other words, in order to become free, now it is a secondary thing what kind of treatment you go in for, whether it's conventional treatment, whether it's alternative treatment, whether it's no treatment at all that only you can know. But what is your state of consciousness? And it sounds strange for me to say that, it is a great opportunity to have an illness like that, and this has been confirmed to me by a number of people that I have known who have had similar illnesses. One or two seemed to get cured, others did not, but that was secondary. They said that it forced them into very intense presence, because they noticed when they were not present, they were very unhappy. So the illness forced them into just living more and more in the present moment. An extreme example of that was, I read last year, I read it on the BBC News, my app. There was a musician in England, popular music, I had never heard of him, but apparently he was quite well known in England, who got diagnosed with cancer. And he reports in an interview that when he left the doctor's office, he felt ecstatic. This is very rare. He felt ecstatically happy, and he couldn't quite figure out why. And now he says, I now realize all the problems that I thought I had are completely meaningless, and he lives completely in the now. And the rare thing with him was that happened immediately as he left the doctor's office. I've never heard that before, that somebody... So can you allow the illness to push you into the awakened state? Your motivation is very strong now. And it could happen to anybody who is no guarantee. I have not had a serious illness my whole life. I haven't even seen the inside of a hospital. But who can say that it's not going to happen? Everybody is one heartbeat away from death. Well, the death of the physical body. And if you don't die in an accident, if you die, you might die of old age, if you're lucky, or unlucky, depending what your old age looks like. Or as somebody once said, old age isn't so bad if you consider the alternative. So it's either that, most people here, including myself, will probably die of something, which would be heart attack, cancer, stroke. I think those are the main things. Could be an accident too, of course, or something more rare. Something eventually comes. So ultimately, how long your life is, although I must admit, if it comes to a very young person, it may be more difficult, young person who hasn't lived completely. But even there, the shift is possible, so that you allow the condition, the illness, to force you into just absolute present moment awareness in which you do not suffer. A lot of the suffering of the illness arises from what your mind is saying. Of course, with some illnesses, pain eventually comes. That is pain. When I use the word suffering, I really refer to psychological suffering. If there's pain, then perhaps something is done to alleviate the pain, and you also need to surrender. But there may be many conditions where there is actually no pain for quite a long time, but you know there is that illness. So go away from focusing excessively on the idea of illness in the mind. And in order to get out of the idea of illness, which is not a denial, that it's not saying I don't have it, no, you're just not going there, you're just being in the present moment. And several people that came to me over the years, especially at a time when I still had more personal contact with people who would come to me. I've seen several who had developed fatal illnesses, and in the last months of their lives became quite radiant, quite awakened. Really, the flowering that is meant to be the purpose of human life, the flowering of consciousness, happened. They didn't need another 25 years of life, which means 25 years of eating, 25 years of taking the dog for a walk, going on vacation, seeing a few more sunsets, and adding more life experiences. And you can add more and more, but is that the real purpose of your life, to add more? And they're good, but then you need more and more and more life experiences and add more. No, there's something else that is more vital, more important. That's the flowering, the shift in consciousness. Then time becomes immaterial, whether you have a few more months or another 20 years or 30 years. So it was wonderful to see those people becoming radiant and becoming in a way like little children, because the whole personality collapsed. The ego could not survive, knowing that it had no future. If the ego really knows it has no future, either it goes into intense suffering and complaining and victim identity. Why did this happen to me? To me? Oh. Or it dissolves.